You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, I'm Philip Heitzen, and today is Friday, September 30th, 2022.
6.
This week's Procurement 6 comes to you from the city of Barcelona in Spain, where I'm attending and hosting a CPO roundtable this week at ProcureCon EU. And as I record this week's Procurement 6, Hurricane Ian has its sights set on my home state of Florida. The current spaghetti models, those that track the potential course of a hurricane, suggest a possible direct pass over the Orlando area, which is where we live. Now, by the time you listen to this podcast on Friday, we'll know where Ian landed up. But I mention this as my influence for today's tip of the week. While it's hurricane season in Florida, you never know when one is going to form, how strong it's going to be, and what path it will take. You can't plan for all eventualities, but you can have a number of plan Bs at the ready. And as a profession, we've been hit by security of supply issues all year, in fact, for the past couple of years. My question today is, do you know exactly how your supply chain may be impacted in case of a weather event like Hurricane Ian? Now, this is relatively straightforward to model in areas that have common weather events, like hurricane or typhoon season, or in areas of seismic activity. So my tip, and if you don't have this information already, is to understand which of your key suppliers' service delivery, and it can be a product or a service, is heavily dependent on an area that has regular weather events. Once you have this, you can start building plan Bs on a category level for when the next weather event strikes. And one thing for sure is a weather event will strike, you just don't know when it's going to be.
5.
In this week's Art of Procurement podcast, I shared a session from our recent Category Palooza 2022 event, where Kelly Barner interviewed marketing category expert Steve Trussell, who shared his core approaches that serve category managers well during times of change. He also describes the strategies he uses to stay on top of evolving categories while continuing to deliver value. And ironically, Steve is a fellow Floridian like me, and so his approach to managing volatility is based on his experience of hurricane preparedness.
My point being that I think that preparedness is the answer, and not just preparing for right now, but if you look in the preparedness field, you look in the military, you look in some of the disaster preparedness places, you have what they call a PACE plan, which it fits in all different arenas. You see a lot of it in communications, but it fits in all different arenas: primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. And you have a different path that if this happens, then I do this. If this happens, then I do this. And I think that is what you build out. And it's a lot of people will say that they have a plan, they understand their category, and they know what they're going to do. But what is that, right? Yeah. And what are those steps you're going to take? And what are those steps you take now in some cases? If you have a contingent or an alternate, that means that supplier is tooled up and ready to go right now, right? Yeah. So in order to do that, you need to have engaged with them either at a high level in conversations. They understand your business. You've got NDAs in place. You've got all the things in place to flip a switch and move, or you're actually doing some business with them.
You can catch their entire conversation wherever you listen to podcasts, on the go or at artofprocurement.com/podcast.
4.
On my trip to Barcelona, I had the opportunity to read the recently published The Future of Procurement report from advisory firm KPMG. It's always an interesting read, and this year's version is certainly no different. Now, at the end of the report, you are asked to answer a number of questions that should impact how you are thinking about the future of procurement and the impact on different operating models. So questions that are posed include: what business disruptors are affecting you most? What business questions and decisions should be anticipated to address these disruptors? How are you enabling your customers to more easily do business with procurement? How do you engage suppliers to move beyond a sole focus on cost and quality? How is procurement using external insights, tools, and technologies to drive better outcomes? And how easily will your organization pivot given the volatile world in which we operate? Now, to get KPMG's insights into how to start thinking about the answers to those questions and what you can do about it, check out the link to download the paper. You don't need an email address to do so, and the link is in the show notes of today's episode.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
Over the past couple of weeks, I've seen a number of posts on LinkedIn labeling traditional procurement folks as dinosaurs. Well, who is a dinosaur? Apparently, they are someone who only cares about savings, non-progressive thinkers, and technophobes. So this piece, it's not a dig at the original posters because I respect their perspective on many other issues. However, on this, I do have a different view. Now, those that know me will know that my motivation for putting at risk the financial future of my family was deeply rooted in my passion for helping procurement pros challenge the status quo, rethink their value proposition, and 10x their impact. And the entire art of procurement community is made up of change agents and those that aspire to be them. So I definitely get it. But there's lots of reasons why procurement professionals struggle to get the investment they need to expand their value proposition or the opportunity to demonstrate how they can help. It isn't mostly for lack of vision. It could be that their organization may only believe it needs cost savings from procurement. Their organization may have no interest in exploring an expanded procurement value proposition. Or their organization may not be interested in investing in digitization, not just in procurement, but across the board. Every single day in those environments may be a struggle for relevancy. And I've worked in those organizations. It's definitely not fun. And frankly, you can fall out of love with procurement pretty quickly in those situations. My view is, as a profession, we're only as strong as our weakest link. It's inherent on all of us to do what we can to help those procurement professionals who find themselves in organizations where procurement doesn't matter. So rather than pulling up the ladder and casting the dinosaurs off to sea, I believe that we're all in this together. So let's inspire, teach, and give a helping hand rather than dismissing or deriding those that are earlier in the transformation journey as lost without a cause.
2.
Bloomberg and Wells Fargo reported this week that the Q3 public company reporting cycle is so far showing that profit margins are under pressure versus Q2, and in many cases also when compared to the same Q3 period in 2021. For example, margins at Oracle are down from 38.9% to 24.5%. Accenture, that's down from 16.1% to 14.7%. Darden Restaurants from 13.1% to 9.8%, and FedEx from 9.2% all the way down to 5.3%. This is impacting organizations across a variety of different industries. So expect a continued trend towards cost management and the need for procurement support. Just remember, avoid the savings at all costs approach that harms your reputation in the long run and harms the quality of your supplier relationships.
1.
Finally today, I just wanted to remind you to sign up for Mastermind Live, our next digital event that takes place on October the 4th. And remember, even if you can't join us live, all of the sessions will be immediately available on demand. Unless, of course, you didn't register in advance. We have an exclusivity period for everyone who registered to be able to watch those on-demand sessions, and you can watch them as soon as the session is finished. So, if you haven't registered already, what are you waiting for? Please go to artofprocurement.com/mastermindlive. Sign up today. It's free for anyone within procurement. So please go to artofprocurement.com/mastermindlive to find out more and to register.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.